antiquing mirror finish on some old glass. A little while back, Cindy and I picked up a big picture window that came out of a house probably built around the turn of the century. And the vision that she had for it was to keep the aged antique look, the chippy paint look on the outside, clean up the backside or what would have been the interior portion of the glass, and then finish it with a mirror-like finish, but to antique it. And in order to do that, what we're going to do is take some, it's a 50-50 vinegar water mix, and we'll kind of spread that around on the glass. The vinegar keeps the paint from adhering. Once the paint is dried a little bit, then we'll dab it with a cloth with probably just like a blue shop towel. And then after that's finished up, we'll go back over it with some black acrylic paint. But we've got our Rustoleum mirror effect spray paint that'll get put on after everything's cleaned up and our vinegar water mixes around it. And once that's cleaned up, then we're just going to use a regular acrylic craft paint to paint over the backside of it to give it a dark finish on it. To start, since I've never done this before, I've got some panes that I took out of the window itself. They were broken, so they kind of got chipped or cracked when we were trying to clean some of the glazing off the backside, so we make sure that we get our mirror finish all the way to the edge. So I'm going to take advantage of these broken pieces and I'm going to clean them up and then try the mirror finish over it to see how it works out. There was a little bit of question as to whether or not we should dab the paint immediately after spraying it, let it tack, or let it completely dry and then go back and dab it with the cloth to break down the vinegar on it. But we're going to get started doing this. We'll clean these up and see how this turns out, and I'll come back and check back in with you guys here in a few minutes. Okay, so here we've got this is our second pane. This is the one that we've got 2 coats of paint on. And we're gonna go ahead and pop our little blisters, and you can see pretty well here that, well, try and cut the glare. Sorry, I just working with a mirror or whatever, but yeah, you can see where these little blisters are that the vinegar kept the paint from adhering to the glass surface. So here we just go through and dab those with a rag. Pop the blister, and we'll kind of take whatever vinegar water mixture is left in there. Okay, so we've gotten to the point where we actually successfully were able to get a mirrored finish that has an antique look to it. 2 coats of the paint with a coat of black acrylic on the backside. It looks to be like it's probably going to be the desired effect that we want for this window. And worst case, like I said earlier, if it's not, then we can just scrape it off. It's just glass. A razor scraper will work fine for that. So now the next step is to get the bench behind me cleared off and get a piece of MDF up on here so I can lay that big 8x5 window out and hopefully support it well enough to be able to work on it. We need to Windex the glass really well, make sure it's clean, doesn't have any debris or dirt or oils on it, and then we'll go into taping it all off. I'm not too worried about taping the middle sections of it off, but definitely around the perimeter so we don't have any overspray there. But we'll go through that once we get all of that. Alexa, drop in on Tyler's room.
Okay, dropping in.
Tyler. Tyler,
Yeah.
can you come down to the garage and help me put this window up?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so we got this big old window over here onto a pseudo workbench, just a piece of MDF that I had left over, a piece somebody had put in the floor here at the house, and I decided to replace it with the correct subfloor plywood. But anyhow, got our window up there. We got all 26 panes of glass washed out with Windex, and then hit it with some compressed air to try to blow everything out and get the little, like, the finite dust that I couldn't vacuum up or whatever may have fallen out of there when Tyler and I moved it. So now the next thing is to tape off all the way around the outside of it. Let's go that way. Tape everything off around the outside, and like I said before, I'm not worried about the interior runners and stuff in there. It's going to be facing the wall, so if they get some overspray on them, it's not that big a deal. But what I don't want is overspray on the outside frame, as it will be visible all the way around. So we'll go ahead and get into that, and then once we're done with that, we're going to get after our water vinegar mixture and some spray paint. So I'll be right back. Okay, well, we got 2 coats of the mirror finish on, and it looks pretty good. I mean, one of the things that I kind of was worried about, and it ended up being a problem, was the water droplets were drying up a little bit before I could get to that pane, because I went through and did everything before I started. I ended up going as I went, you know, putting a little bit on each one just to make sure that we had it covered the way it should. But I mean, I think it turned out really well. We got 2 coats on there right now. I'm gonna let that dry and see how it looks, see if it's got the mirror effect from the underside like I want it to have. If not, I got enough paint, we'll go ahead and put a 3rd coat on it and see what it looks like. But we'll go ahead and show you guys how it's turned out so far. So like I said, so far it looks pretty good. I mean, it definitely has a mirror-esque finish to it. The reflection of the lights I'm sure is great for you guys to look at. And you can see all the little bubbles and blisters and stuff as the paint dries. What we're looking for with this one, I'm gonna let this one set up and dry a little bit longer than what we did the first ones. All of this, like this milkiness and whatnot, we want all that to kind of go away, dry it and cure out. And then once it's that way, then we'll take a good look at it and see how the mirror effect on the bottom side, or on the side that you're going to see once it's on the wall, look. All right, so we got all the black put on this thing yesterday. I left it set overnight to go ahead and dry. But the problem is we ended up with some imperfections in the mirror finish with the acrylic paint. I ended up having to switch paints. Now granted, they're both black acrylic. They're both from the same company, same manufacturer, but one was an outdoor satin and the other was just a general purpose matte finish on it. When I switched from the outdoor satin to the matte finish, it started leaving brush strokes in the mirror, and it's almost like it pulled the mirror paint off of the glass. So we're gonna have to do something to repair that. Now, I've only got one can of the mirror finish left, but I did a little bit of experimentation last night, and I just used one of my empty cans and was able to get a little bit out of it, but I put 2 coats of the mirror down, and then I had some matte finish paint that I used to refinish the stove or the fireplace in the house. And I put that on behind it, and it gave me the same effect. Now I know I said I was a little apprehensive to use spray paint on it, but I decided let's go ahead and try it because it eliminates the use of the brush, right? So I don't have to worry about it actually pulling the mirror up. It worked fairly well. It didn't give me quite as bright of a finish as what the satin acrylic paint did. So I ran by Lowe's and picked up a can of Rustoleum satin spray paint. We're gonna try that and see how it does. In fact, we're gonna see if that actually produces the same kind of results. But we'll pick this thing up and let you guys look at it and see it. I may have to actually get my other camera and bring it over here and look. But if you look, I don't want to reveal too much because we want to keep this somewhat a surprise. Sorry, my microphone decided to fall out. But you might be able to see where there's some spots where the brush strokes had kind of come through. So that's what we're working on fixing. This was the one that I did with the mirror and then the matte spray paint over it. I think it turned out fairly well. So I'm not gonna bore you guys with refinishing it because I've only got one can of the mirror left. I'm gonna just scrape them, do them one at a time, and I'll throw that on a time lapse or something. That way you guys aren't sitting here watching me do what I already did. Okay, so we've successfully fixed the issues that we had before. I would definitely recommend, if anybody wants to do this, use the Rustoleum black spray paint. Way better than putting brush marks in it. That's one thing that I noticed when I was brushing the acrylic on. I was getting brush marks and everything, and I wasn't very happy with that. But the spray paint over it turned out really, really good. So now we're just gonna go ahead and let that paint dry. We're gonna open the garage up, let it air out a little bit. Unfortunately, it's like 34 degrees today, so it's not gonna dry as quick, but if we can get the fumes out, and I'll close it back down and get the heat going again. In the meantime, I'll take y'all in the house and we're gonna go put up the French cleat. So I'm using a store-bought aluminum French cleat that I got at Lowe's. It's supposed to hold something like 350 pounds or something like that. Just real simple. This edge, you can see it's got an angle to it, but it'll mount to the wall, and then there's another one corresponding that mounts to whatever you're trying to hang. So in this case, right here under the tape is where I've got the one for this window at. And once this is on the wall, the other one has an angle that matches this with a lip on it, and it just sits down inside of it and it'll hang there. I haven't decided yet if I want to try and drive a couple screws from underneath to help hold it against the wall. I don't think it's going to need it. This thing's heavy enough and big enough that I don't think it'll need it. But so we'll go ahead and go inside and hang this, get it ready so that when we're done with this, we can peel the tape off of it, and we'll take it inside and hang it up, see how it looks. So there it is, all finished and hung up on the wall. This thing turned out awesome. It's not very often that I get excited about a project like this and seeing the way it turned out, but I think I probably pretty much fell in love with this one. Cindy's gonna go through and put some little accoutrements and stuff on it, but for all intents and purposes, there it is. If you guys like this video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and then share it if you would. I'm going to try and get these videos going a little bit more often. I got some things kind of in the works, and I'm going to try and make the content production just a little bit more of a priority, along with some of these other projects in woodworking. But thanks for checking this one out, and like I said, comment, like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.